Welcome to the Mastering Business Skills podcast, where we interview successful small business owners who share their own journey, mastering the skills they needed to grow and be successful in their business. Learn the struggles, the wins, and all the things they learned along the way, so you can cut down on your own learning curve.
Welcome to Mastering Business Skills. On today's show, we're talking to Alexandra Sukman. Alex is the CEO and co-founder of Barometer XP, whose mission is to create cultures where people are excited about their work because they feel a strong sense of purpose and belonging. She uses games to strengthen interpersonal dynamics such as trust, accountability, and psychological safety in the workplace. Welcome to the show, Alex. We're so excited to talk to you today.
I'm really excited to be here.
Yes. So you have an interesting business and you take a much needed approach to creating great dynamics in teams through fun, but in a really well thought out and designed way. So not by using a generic game or approach. Tell us more about what got you started in the field and why you decided to start this business.
Yeah, it was not this grand business idea that I had one day and started. It really evolved from many other things. Immediately before this company, I was doing in organization development and operations, first internally within a company, and then I started my own consultancy. And what I noticed is I would be hired to do what sounded like a pretty straightforward project, you know, develop a new process, help us write, an operations manual, set up our shared drive, help us with role clarity of roles and role descriptions. But nothing is straightforward when you're dealing with people, especially groups of people. And so much of the time and so much of my effort was going into just building relationships, not only with me and the teams I was working with, but between colleagues, is you would have everybody agree that something is a problem, but a lot of people fall back on the mindset of, well, I do everything perfectly and I know everything correctly, you're all the problem. And you can't get anything accomplished in that mindset, because even if you follow one person's perspective and you design a process or solution around their needs, everybody else is going to say, well, that doesn't meet our needs, that's not a solution for us. And a lot of the time it was because there just wasn't an established culture. There wasn't really space for colleagues to get to know each other and understand how their roles complemented each other and what different perspectives and skills each person brought, what each person's pet peeves or fears were. And it's really hard to work collaboratively when you don't know and feel comfortable and trust and feel accountable, have like the mutual accountability with the people that you work with. So I got very obsessed with that problem and started noticing that the vast majority of workplace problems come from those interpersonal dynamics. And so in looking for what's a way to have those conversations and help make people feel more comfortable and be willing to have conversations about, well, this is what I think, and these are the assumptions I make. And like, oh, interesting, you think really differently. And that's not wrong. It's just different. And it's actually helpful for me to understand. How do you get people into that mindset? And play and games are really the perfect tool for it, because you're having a shared experience where there's some problem solving component that you're all working on together. And if you can be reflective about that experience, you can see, what are you bringing to this? How, what ideas do you have? How are you asking questions? What move are you going to make next and why? And it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sure listening is a big part of that. Do you end up teaching like the listening skills to the people you work with too, or like how to listen better? And how do you go about doing that? Like, is it a difficult
Yes.
thing to accomplish with teams?
No, well, we have a lot of different frameworks and tools that we use for not only how we pick the right game, but also how we design a session. And we usually start with something that's just a non-competitive game, that's storytelling and just learning from each other, because you want to get everybody in the mindset where they're interested in what each other has to say, and where they're and not even talking about work, not even getting into any of the challenging dynamics. They're just excited to be in this experience. It's playful and it's creative. And then they just start listening to each other anyways. And then we'll go into a slightly more challenging game and ask about what different listening styles are there? What details are most important for you, and are you hearing them and what other people are sharing, or are they not speaking to it and you're getting frustrated? And so if you get people thinking about how they listen, what they listen for, what's most important, then they're really zoned in on listening and on expressing what their own needs are to other people. And then you can move into, a harder game that really focuses on the particular dynamics or challenges that you're trying to work on.
Yeah. Did you have to do any type of like formal education or anything like that before you went into this, or was it just a natural progression starting the business from what you were doing before?
I didn't get any formal training. My One of my co-founders, Peter, is a game designer, and he truly knows he would say he doesn't know everything. I think he knows everything about the mechanics and dynamics of games and what different kinds of games are and what the interactions are. And I've just learned so much from him. And so he brought the game perspective, and I brought the organization development and culture perspective. And it just ended up being this perfect complement of knowledge to look at how do you apply games and how do you look at what's the best game for a particular situation and for creating mindset or for sparking important conversations or to getting certain change. So on that stuff, no, I didn't do any formal training. I've done a couple facilitation workshops, but the facilitation skills always came pretty naturally to me as well.
Nice. So, and yeah, I know you have a really interesting platform because you give people free access to your game database and several tools to help them find the right game to play at work with their teams. So tell us why you decided to create that platform and provide free access and how that helps companies and then leads into, I guess, work, more work with you guys.
Hmm. Yeah, so much of, I mean, culture is truly, it's not just do you like the people that you work with, it's everything about the work environment. Do you know who to go to for specific questions? Do you have the tools and the resources that you need to use? Do you have established relationships with the people you have to collaborate with so that, you'll help each other when something hard or something uh, unexpected comes up? Are you clear on what you do and what other people do and how they fit together? And usually so much of culture is just taken for granted. It's not really looked at explicitly. And we wanted to make play available as a resource to just start those conversations, even if you're not getting into specific problems, but just as a way to get to know your colleagues or even your clients, your collaborators better. Because when you know each other's personalities and you can, see each other as 3D full realized humans, so much else is going to result from that. More greater accountability, greater trust, greater motivation and energy for the work. People are more likely to stick around. So we wanted to put it out as a tool that people could use even without bringing in a professional facilitator or without going through our certification program. We wanted to help put, pick, okay, let's say you have a group of people, they don't know each other really well. So you just want a game that's going to help get to know each other. You can go into this database and search for collaborative games that have a storytelling component or that have a curiosity component. And we felt like it was a really good introduction to get people to think about how to use play, even just purely for fun, and then hopefully open up their mind to using it as a deeper learning and development tool. Because there's a lot of resistance to the idea of play in the workplace.
Yes, I was just going to ask actually what advice you would give to companies that want to explore this route about how to get their team on board and their team not being like, oh, it's like, a trust fall in the park, or you know what I mean? Like something that we've done before and everybody's like, oh, okay, great. Like how do you get them excited, or how would they get them excited about doing this?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is there is so much evidence out there that experiential learning is the most effective way of learning. it's more accepted for kids, but so much professional development is watch a video or go to a workshop and someone's just talking at you, and then there's a quiz at the end or maybe a role play. But what learning and organization development and change are about is really behavior change. And people don't change their behavior based on knowledge alone. It's scary. Life is really complicated, and we're often just operating on our lizard brain and our reflexes and on autopilot. And it to get people to be willing to change and to recognize, hey, maybe the way that I'm doing things isn't getting me the outcomes that I want, and there's an opportunity to change. You have to give them baby steps. You have to give a way to explore those challenges, to practice doing something different and see what the results are, and then get more confident. And there's a lot of great experiential learning tools. But I think play is such a great one because it's also collaborative. People aren't going through the learning journey individually. And especially when what you're trying to learn or what you're trying to change has to do with interpersonal skills and interpersonal dynamics, it makes so much sense to go through that learning together and be practicing and experimenting together. So that's one argument I would say, because there is so much scientific research on experiential learning.
Yeah, definitely. And I love your LinkedIn videos. They're always engaging, they're always fun. So, were you, I know most people get nervous when it comes to recording videos, especially or like lives or something like that on social media, and then posting them for everybody to see and comment on. How did you feel about it when you first started doing it? Were you ever nervous about it? Did you get better with it over time? Has it changed a lot since when you started to now?
It's definitely changed. It's funny. I grew up doing performing arts. I was always a dancer, and so like I don't have a problem being in front of people. But with dance, you're not using your voice. You have a chance to practice everything. I never did solos. I was always with other people. So the thing that was nerve-wracking was not that other people were going to see it, but it see me. It was, oh, they're going to hear my voice, and what if I sound weird? And nobody likes the sound of their own voice.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was pretty nervous. But I just had to stop caring. It's so easy to be really precious and have these perfectionist tendencies about everything. But when you have your own business, you just have to do things. You don't have time to get it perfect. You don't even have time to get it really good some of the time. And but we have a great marketing team who scripts out the videos and comes up with all the concepts, and they were just so encouraging. It was like, just do it. Like, no one's if you put out a lot of videos, no one's going to remember the first one or the second one. You'll get more comfortable with it. You'll figure out uh, what you like to do, what you don't like to do in the videos. I rarely ever watch my videos. My husband does the filming, and I totally trust him to say, like, yeah, you sounded smart enough, or you looked fine. I have a really tough time watching them, but I guess over time I've just come to realize each one is not that big of a deal, and it's I want people to, our whole thing is about authentic humanity and how to be authentically human for yourself and also with other people. So I felt like I just had to do that too. I don't think people would respond as much if I was this like perfect, filtered, very polished version of myself.
Yeah, I had a similar background to you in that I was also a dancer and I was a singer. And so being on stage, it was like you're performing, and I was totally fine with that. But starting doing videos for my business, I was like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? Even with the podcast, when I launched that, it was like, like, are people going to like it? Are they not? And I think you overthink a lot in business that you don't when you have that, the other training and the other background. Like when you're performing, it seems like it's different. And we often don't think of it as performing when we're doing, videos on social media or something.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to dig in more maybe offline about what is it that feels so vulnerable about that, because it shouldn't be like
Right.
conceptually, it's not that scary, but something about it feels so different.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And how do you continue learning and improving as a business owner now as you continue going in your business?
I've always been a curious person and I've always been a problem solver. If I see something that isn't working for me or that other people are complaining about or is causing trouble, I just want to get in and fix it. And have always been willing to be resourceful and try different things in order to fix it without even realize that I'm doing it. Um, and or it, it really took me till 15 years into my career to recognize that's a skill that not everybody has. Um, and that was something that made me really good at the jobs that I've had. Um, and so, if I'm like, I would, if I was better at this type of thing, it would make this aspect of running the company better. I'll research it, I'll read about it, I'll go to friends or people that in my network who are experts in that and have conversations with them. Sometimes I'll do some formal training, but I've gotten pretty because our stuff is so focused on experiential learning. I have a really hard time sitting through just a video or just a workshop that's not interactive. My brain just shuts down. So a lot of the traditional training stuff doesn't really work for me.
I've been there. Or if you try and do the trainings later at night and they seem to almost put you to sleep, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, I was in the middle of that training. I rewind and see where I left off.
And then
Yep.
it just makes me mad because I'm watching the intention of this is to change my behavior in some way, but it's not structured at all in a way that's going to get me to change my behavior. So then I just get mad at myself and I get mad at the people who made it. And then I'm like, why did I buy this? And
Yep. I feel like anymore we all need shorter clips, shorter videos, shorter PDFs, whatever it is to read, or shorter chapters in books. Because I don't think anybody has the like attention anymore to sit through, hours long videos and trainings and all of
yeah,
that.
I think bite-sized pieces and then a way to apply what you just learned to really solidify
Yes.
it in your brain. There's
Yes.
too much stuff to remember. If there's no emotional experience associated with the knowledge, it's not really going to stick.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, as far as success, tell us what your definition of that is, and has it changed at all over the years, even from when you started, before you started your business, even? Do you look at things differently now than you did before?
So my first career was in public policy and public health and social policy. And, I started that right after undergrad and got a job and then got a better job and went to grad school and sort of did the straight career
Mm,
trajectory where it's like you get promoted and you have more responsibility and you earn more money. And about 15 years, maybe 13 years into my career, I was really miserable. Felt like I did everything right and I was successful based on the company's standards and their societal standards, but I was so miserable and unfulfilled. And I quit the job that I'd been with the company for 8 years. I quit with nothing lined up. I truly was burnt out and was very depressed and felt like I needed to rediscover who I was and what my priorities and what my values were. And a lot of that was thinking about what does success look like for me. And I realized it's not how much I'm making or how many clients I have or how big the deals are. It's not just feeling like I'm making a difference, but being able to see the impact that I'm having.
mm,
And it has to be on something that feels meaningful to me. And so that was when I started my first company, my consulting, it was all around how do I build this around my own values and my definition of success and set pretty strict criteria for what types of clients was I going to work with and how big of projects was I going to take on and how many at a time because I didn't want to get trapped in that external validation loop again.
mm,
And always been that's stuck with me ever since then and has been really foundational for Barometer XP, it's a game company,
mm.
uh, for that my partners and I have a very much similar is we want to feel really good about the work that we're doing and feel like we can see the impact of what we do. And that's really our definition of success. And then we put all the other business metrics on top of that, but that's not what for us what defines how we're doing.
Yes, yes. That's what I've noticed over the years too. It's, seeing the changes that you're making and seeing the effect that it's having on other people and how that in turn can affect, people that they're working with or people in their lives. So it's always, it's always a great accomplishment just to have that alone. I mean, we all do
Yeah.
it. We all do it to make money too, but it's different when you love what you do versus just doing it for to make the money or somebody's version of success. I mean, when I started out, I remember people used to tell me I needed the $1 million business, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have $1 million business. And then I realized over the years, like, I don't actually want $1 million business. Like, and I know, and I would start networking, and people were like, no, you have to work with the big companies, and the ones that are 50 million and this and that. And I was like, but that's not who I like working with. I like working with the small companies. So
Hmm.
it took a little bit for it to be for me to look at that and say it's okay to
Yeah.
change your version of success too.
Yeah. If you have a really big client, but it's not a good fit personality wise, or they don't respect the work you're doing, it's a terrible experience.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it.
Nope, not at all. I've had a few clients that I've had to fire for that. Like, nope, this is
Hmm.
not what I signed up for.
Hmm. Yeah. And it sort of becomes a no-win situation because you can work so hard on your vision, but if they don't share your vision or they don't really understand or they're not putting the work in, you're never going to see an impact and they're not going to appreciate it. So
Right.
it just feels like a black hole.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, do you have any type of routine, maybe it's a morning routine or something during the day or an evening routine that kind of helps you get in the mode for the next day, get you in the right mindset for success and for the day ahead? Or,
Yeah, I unless there's absolutely something pressing, I don't work in the evenings. I don't even read business books. Like, there's all these business books that I really want to read, and I love reading in bed. But if I read something that's work related, my brain goes
yeah,
hyperactive, and then I have a hard time sleeping. So being really careful about what I read or what I listen to or what I watch after like 8 p.m. Um, and really just protecting my downtime and making sure that I'm filling it with spending time with the people that I love. Or I still take dance class every week and feel like that is so foundational to my mental health and my sense of self and my sense of purpose. Um, and so just making sure that I am dedicating some time to the things that make me feel like the best version of me and really fulfill me.
yeah, I love that you do that, the dance classes still and stuff versus just always working or, thinking that, you don't have the time or not taking the time because we all have the time for the things we want to make a priority or fit into our schedule. We all have the same amount of
Mhm.
time. It's just how we work things in.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
glad
I'm
that you
really
do that.
trying to work on spending less time on my phone because I never feel
Yes.
satisfied after I'll spend 15 minutes scrolling on Instagram. And at the end of it, there's nothing to show for it. There's nothing particularly interesting. Most of the stuff on my feed are ads or things that I
Yeah.
don't so few of it are the people that I really want to connect with. But like, don't do it. It's a waste of time when there's other things that are more fulfilling.
Yes, I actually took a break from social media for several years. And then I went back into it because, I have clients who I need to do social media for and stuff. But same, I try not to go on there unless I'm, working with a client or doing something work related on there, or on there for a particular purpose. But yeah, otherwise just scrolling aimlessly for hours is, yeah, complete,
Yeah.
huge, huge waste of time. So
Yeah, and even y'all find it like open up some news apps and scroll, and that just is depressing.
Yeah.
So just you don't need your phone. If there's people you want to interact with, make plans to see them or
Yes. Yes. And when you're with them, leave the phone like somewhere else or, you know, on the side of the table, upside down, whatever it is.
crazy now you go out to eat and you'll see tables of people, like especially people in their 20s, and they're all on their phones while they're in the same place physically. That blows my mind. I just want to be like, you're
Yes.
missing such an important opportunity to be together and have a memorable experience.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So I want to wrap up with and ask you pretty much what's next for your business. Is there any new services that you're launching? Is there anything, you know, that you're excited about coming up? And is there any new skills or anything that you are looking forward to learning in, you know, the coming months or year?
Yeah, so I have had experience running a services business, but now that we've launched this software product, it's a totally different business. You know, the way you sell it, the way you track its performance. So I am excited and sort of nervous about learning that. But because I believe so much in the purpose of it, it makes it a little bit less intimidating because I just want it to succeed so much. In terms of our offerings, so we have a play facilitator program that's for other people who are already facilitators or coaches, business owners, consultants, people in the L&D space. But we are designing some new programs for people who aren't necessarily in those roles, but who want to be more proactive in terms of culture. So let's say you lead a team or you coordinate volunteers and you want to have more tools to be able to build a sense of community very quickly and build that trust and accountability. So we want to train them on how to use play as a tool. So I'm very excited about that. Starting a new offering that's looking at the conference industry. So many conferences are still, you just sit and someone talks at you. And conferences, when you have a lot of people together at the same time, I would think you should lean into the connecting piece and helping people find uh, potential clients or collaborators or learn from each other and much more interacting with each other. So that's a new offering is working with conferences on how to bring more interactivity and more joy and more sense of connection and community building. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Is you're right. A lot of conferences, you know, they are. It's somebody's standing there talking and you're taking notes and then, you know, you leave and you might connect with people on your breaks, but other than that, there's not that much effort put into the connection piece, which is so important anymore for any business trying to grow
Yeah. And
and
people talk about
scale.
those hallway moments, but the fact that they have to happen in the hallway in transition to something else means you're not building time or structuring time or the space to make it conducive. You just happen you're lucky if the person that you're walking down the hallway with wants to have a conversation about the same thing that you
Yes.
do. So why not create more opportunities where those conversations are going to happen and play is such a good tool for that.
Yes, definitely. So, well, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing all of this with us. And I am so excited for the companies that do use your services and will use your services and how they can build that team connection with within their own teams. So, and for anybody else that's listened, we hope you tune in next time and we appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you.